Hello, everybody. I'm Evan Kamikow, and this is the Toss Up. Each week, join myself and an expert line panel dissect the latest sports news from some of the nation's most elite college programs here in Bloomington to the biggest stadiums and stages around the world. Stick around because we have a great show coming up on the Toss Up. October means a few things. Halloween, leaves changing colors, basketball season starting, and the best of all, postseason baseball. With a few days left before the season ends, the madness has already begun. Will the Giants hold off the Dodgers? Can anybody cool down the Cardinals? Will the Yankees, Red Sox, Mariners, or Blue Jays make the postseason at this point? It's anybody's guess. Coming up later in the show, Austin Platt joins us in studio for an update on Hoosiers in the postseason. Then Gabe Fenster joins us for a toss-up postseason bracket breakdown. And now joining us on an action-packed episode of IUS TV's Toss-Up, sports reporters Mason Williams, Zach Greene, and Amanda Foster. Guys, welcome to the Toss-Up. You guys ready to toss up some postseason baseball?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right, so Mason, we'll start with you. Who are your two teams that are going to be in the AL wildcard game?
I am going to take the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. I think New York has been the streakiest team in the entire league all season long. And Boston is going to benefit from having a pillow soft schedule at the end of the year, having both Baltimore and Washington. So I'm going to take New York and Boston.
New York and Boston. Zach?
Yeah, I would say New York and Boston as well. I think it's good for baseball. The game would be in the Bronx, so it'll be madness.
Amanda, you're shaking your head over there a little bit.
No, not really. I have a different one. I'm going to go Seattle and the Red Sox because, like Mason said, the Yankees are so streaky. I think by playing Toronto and Tampa, they're not going to be able to pull it through. And for Seattle, they play the Athletics and the Angels, and Seattle's 10-6 against the Angels, and so that's a good way for them to close it out. And I think the Red Sox I'm a Red Sox fan. I think they're going to do it. I have faith in my team.
Well, I believe in two things. I believe in hope, and I believe in believe. Ted Lasso quote that the Seattle Mariners are going by. My two wild card teams are going to be New York, from Jersey, grew up loving the Yankees, got to root for them because the Cubs are out of it. And Seattle, got to believe in believe. I think that is a fun team, and they're really going to surprise everyone. Moving away from the AL wildcard, we'll go to the NL wildcard. Amanda, we'll keep it over with you. Who are your two NL wildcard teams, which I guess doesn't really matter at this point?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to say, the Cardinals, and obviously
Cardinals and Dodgers are locked.
Yes, we have established that.
So we've established that. So let's talk about the NL West then.
NL West, all right.
LA Dodgers or San Francisco Giants? Who's going to win that division?
Giants.
Giants?
That's it.
Giants, that's quick. Zach, I know you're a Giants guy too.
Yeah, Giants. I mean, they're up 2 games with 5 games left to play. The Giants have the easier schedule. The Brewers are coming to the town to play the Dodgers after their series against the Padres. So they have the harder schedule. I'd say the Giants.
I'm going to roll with San Francisco as well, purely for the fact that they've been the best team in baseball for a large chunk of the season for a reason. I'm going to keep rolling with them.
Yeah, I think it's just a panel sweep of the Giants. Zach, you brought up the best point is that the Dodgers face such a tough schedule going down the stretch, and that division is so close, but with a tough schedule, you just never know what's going to happen. So the Giants are the safe bet. Moving from the NL West to the NL East, you have Atlanta and Philly, which are two teams that have been struggling. That whole division, really, everyone thought the Mets were going to win it. They were leading that division for 103 games. Now it's between not the Mets, it's between Atlanta and Philly. So Mason, who's going to win that division, Atlanta or Philly?
I think Atlanta will take it. They have been, as you mentioned, the beneficiary of the weakest overall division in all of baseball this year. They've kind of just stumbled their way in. They're injured. I would, if I were them, look more towards next season. I think once they re-sign Freddie Freeman, they reshape their deadline, or they reshape their outfield at the deadline, and they bring back Ronald Acuna Jr. from injury next year. I think they'll be in a lot more contention next year, but I've got Atlanta this year.
Zach?
Yeah, I would say Atlanta. I think overall they have the better pitching staff, and they acquired some great pickups. Jorge Soler and Jock Peterson have been doing a great job. I think that they were a little below 500 during the trade deadline, and those 2 pickups, they've been playing great for them. So I would say Atlanta. They won last night as well, so I think they're up 3.5 games.
I'm going to go Atlanta too for the same reasons they both said. Pitching staff, Charlie Morton's great, Freddie Freeman's great. Dansby Swanson has been pretty steady for them. They also play the Mets in their last series, and if that doesn't help you get some momentum and hopefully get some wins, then I don't know what would.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you guys that Atlanta is the easy pick. Really weird because we've agreed on the last two questions, which might be a toss up first. So Amanda, I'll stick it with you. We'll stay over here. What is your biggest postseason disappointment? A team that you thought was going to be in the postseason but completely missed.
So I could go super basic, but I'm not. So I'm not going to say the Padres. I am going to go with the Reds because I love Joey Votto, and they had such a good streak towards the end of the summer that people really thought that they could have a shot. And they're so close, and they just didn't get there. And I think they really have potential in the future to be good, especially with players like Jonathan India. And I was disappointed that they didn't at least get to like that wild cards position.
Right. Zach?
I would say the Padres. I mean, during the beginning of the season, everyone was, it's Padres, Dodgers, and then me being a Giants fan, we're doing so well. And we kind of took that harshly because no one was giving us the respect we needed. So I would definitely say that the Padres, they are out of the playoffs now. I know they went out and acquired, I think, Darvish and all these guys, and they just haven't been playing well. And I think that they're going to have to do a total rebuild soon. I mean, you saw, I know, Manny Machado and Tatis, like, I know they said they made up, but still, that can leave a long-lasting relationship. I mean, they're both locked up for the next 4 or 5 years, and if they can't win, then who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, poor Jace Tingler. You think you have the roster, you have the guy, and it just all falls apart. Mason, your postseason disappointment.
For the sake of all having different answers this time, I will touch on the Padres real quick. They were 17 games above 500 heading into early August, and you have the face of baseball, the youngest face in baseball, now sitting on the couch in the postseason. That's not great for the game, but I'm going to go with the Mets, purely for the fact, the same way I mentioned Atlanta winning the East in the NL. They had the easiest division in baseball, and they've been unlucky with some injuries to DeGrom, and I know it's been a tough season overall for them, but it's just another disappointing season in Queens.
I'm going to say another team that you guys didn't bring up. Give me the Minnesota Twins. I think heading into this season, there was a lot of people that were high on the Twins. They had, they just went through this rebuild. You have Max Kepler, Josh Donaldson came back. And you had a lot of pieces in Minnesota that we thought were there. Rocco Balladini, or excuse me if I botched his last name, he was AL Manager of the Year last year or the year before that. So a lot of people said that the Twins were the team to beat in the AL Central, and unfortunately it all just fell apart on the Twins. So that's my postseason disappointment, which different from what we all have, which is good. But I mean, they're all disappointments in my opinion. So. Next question, we'll kind of keep moving. The hottest team in the NL, Mason. Who is that right now?
In the NL, there's no other answer besides the St. Louis Cardinals right now. 17 straight. They've not lost a game since September 10th, I think. I'll keep it short and sweet. St. Louis Cardinals.
St. Louis, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue. To win 17 games is pretty dang hard. And, I mean, I think the only other team with the second highest winning streak is the Yankees with 7, so it's not even close right now.
Amanda, is it
Cardinals.
just the same answer?
It's definitely the same. I am worried for them going in. You have to stop at some point. You can't just keep winning and winning and winning. 17 games is a lot, and so we'll see how that goes, but absolutely the hottest team.
Yeah, and it's definitely the Cardinals. You saw the Indians a couple years ago, I believe it was 2019, go on a 22-game winning streak, and they lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Yankees, which was a giant upset. They had the pitching staff, they had everything. Back when Francisco Lindor was an Indian, or I guess now they're the Guardians next year. I don't know. I guess you got to be somewhat politically correct.
Exactly.
But I'll stick with the Cardinals. 17-game winning streak. Now, will that help? Will they lose soon? Hopefully. If I'm the St. Louis Cardinals, I don't want to lose until after the wild card. That's the one game that I'm most concerned about winning now that they're locked in the postseason. But I think they're the hottest team. And Amanda, we'll keep it with you. Who's the hottest team now in the AL?
Seattle. I gotta go. They were my wild card pick. They've won. Seven games in a row, and I know they're 9-1 in their last 10, and so I think there's not really a comparison. Even with the Yankees winning 7, it's a different demeanor on that team.
I would say the Yankees. I mean, they have the hottest hitter in baseball with Giancarlo Stanton right now. I mean, he's just mashing balls. I think that the thing I have with the Mariners, and I know this season doesn't really relate to the last, let's see, 15, 20 years or so, but you kind of get a sense in that the baseball city. Like they're cursed. I mean, just like your Cubs were. I mean, they kind of broke it.
106 years versus 16 seasons without a postseason. At least we made the playoffs within 16 years of each other.
Right. But the thing about that is the Mariners don't really have a lot of experience like the Yankees, and I still think they have to play the Angels and A's, and those are still not really easy wins for them. So even if I could see the Mariners and Yankees winning out, and it would still be the Yankees over the Mariners. So,
Mason?
I'm going to roll with my Yankees. There is kind of an on-off switch with this Yankees team this year where, like you mentioned, Giancarlo Stanton cannot miss on a swing right now, and he is hitting the ball 700 feet, it seems. But they also will go through time periods of the season where they will make 6+ ERA pitchers look like prime Nolan Ryan on the mound. And they've struggled to really find consistent starting help besides Garrett Cole. And the lineup is, again, an on-off switch. They're either on or off. So right now they're hot. I'm going to roll with them, but who knows how far it takes them.
Yeah, and I feel like with every hot team right now, the Cardinals and now, like, you talk about the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mariners, those are teams where it's on and off, right? Like, that's the reason they're in that wild card spot. So my hottest team in the AL right now is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays. At one point this season, everyone was questioning them. No one knew where they were. They were middle of the pack in the division, hovering above 500. And once August hit, they've been on a roll. They've, clinched the division. That's a team everyone knew they were going to be dangerous, but I don't think anyone really knew how dangerous they were going to be and if everything would click at the right time. And fortunately, it did click at the right time. So Mason, Zach, Amanda, stick around, because now joining us in studio to break down some Hoosiers in the postseason is our own IUSCB sports reporter, Austin Platt. Austin, you're up.
Thanks, Evan. With the MLB Playoffs beginning next week, there are 3 Hoosiers to highlight who will be playing in October with the hopes of making it to the Fall Classic. 2 of them play for the team with the best record in baseball, the San Francisco Giants. Outfielder Alex Dickerson has 13 home runs and 38 RBIs in 109 games this season, while lefty reliever Caleb Berriger has appeared in 25 games out of the bullpen, striking out 16 and sporting an impressive 1.57 ERA. His record currently sits at 2-1 with 2 saves to his name as well. Last but certainly not least is outfielder Kyle Schwarber, the longtime Chicago Cub who was traded to the Boston Red Sox from the Washington Nationals during the trade deadline this season. Ever since arriving in Beantown, he has a .418 OBP and 6 homers in 35 games. Although the Red Sox haven't locked up a playoff spot just yet, Schwarber has been an excellent acquisition for Boston, and his bat will be crucial if Boston wants to make some noise in the playoffs. Don't forget, Schwarber was also part of the 2013 Indiana team that made it to the College World Series. Best of luck to all of our Hoosiers in October. Evan, back to you.
Thanks, Austin. Coming up, IUSCB sports reporter Gabe Fenster joins us in studio for our toss-up postseason breakdown. Then Zach, Amanda, Mason, and I make our postseason predictions. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now joining us in studio for our toss-up MLB postseason bracket breakdown is Gabe Fenster. Gabe, you're up.
Thanks, Evan. Baseball in October, arguably the most exciting time of the year for sports fans. 10 teams, the first 6 with the best record from each division and the next 2 best teams from each conference. Those 4 teams will compete in a 1-game elimination series, home advantage going to the team with the better overall record. The winner of these games will go on to play the 1 seed in the division series. If the season ended today, the Red Sox will travel to the Bronx to play the Yankees, and the Cardinals would take on the Dodgers in Los Angeles. The winner of the Red Sox-Yankees matchup would travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Rays, and the winner of the Cardinals-Dodgers game would travel to San Francisco to take on the Giants in a best-of-5 series. Postseason matchups are not even close to being finalized with only a few days remaining in the regular season. The American League wildcard race is way too close for comfort. The Seattle Mariners are only half a game back, and the Blue Jays are only 1 game back. Over in the National League, the Giants have yet to clinch the NL West division, with the Dodgers only being 2 games behind. Now for my predictions. With the Yankees currently on a 7-game win streak, I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. I see the boys from the Bronx beating the Red Sox in the AL wildcard. Over in the National League, I see the Dodgers beating the St. Louis Cardinals. Moving on to the ALDS, I got the Tampa Bay Rays against the Yankees. I got Tampa Bay taking that series, and I got the Houston Astros beating the White Sox in this series. Over San Francisco, LA, I have San Francisco beating LA in a series, and I got the Braves beating the Brewers. Moving on, I have the Astros against the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay taking that series. And over the NLCS, I have the Dodgers against the Braves. Dodgers taking that series in a World Series rematch. In the World Series, I'd like to crown the Tampa Bay Rays World Series champions, getting rematch on the Los Angeles Dodgers from last season. And those are my predictions. Evan, over to you.
Thanks, Gabe. Now we're back with Mason Williams, Zach Greene, and Amanda Foster, and it's time to finally make our postseason predictions. Are you guys ready to get some answers wrong, I guess?
Let's do it.
No one's 100%. So, Amanda, we'll start with you. Who's going to win the AL wildcard game of the guess 2 teams and pick one of those 2 teams?
All right, I'm going to stick with my pick earlier in the show and say Seattle and Boston, and I think that Boston's going to pull through. Later on in the postseason, no idea. But I think we were talking about earlier, I don't think Seattle is going to be able to keep all of their momentum going, and I think Boston's going to be able to come back from this last week and get something.
Yeah, I had the Yankees playing the Sox, and the game would be in the Bronx. I don't think the Yankees have lost a wild card game in the Bronx in a very long time. They'll have Garrett Cole on the mound, and having a home field advantage is so crucial. So I have the Yankees winning, and yeah.
I'll take the Yankees over Boston purely for the fact that although Boston has kind of owned the season series, especially at the beginning of the year, the Yankees have only won 8 of 18 against Boston this year, but they've won the last 6 meetings. Garrett Cole on the mound in the Bronx. Give me the Yankees.
I'm going to pick 2 different teams because you have the Yankees who seem to be locked in. You know, they have a 2.5 game lead over Boston and, Seattle and the Blue Jays. But give me Yankees, Blue Jays. I feel like Toronto is 1 game out, and we've seemed to have forgotten them all show, where that's a team that's a great young core. They have some good young pitching. Jose Barrios has come over from Minnesota, and he's been looking fantastic. So I'm gonna say the Yankees win. I think that any team going into the Bronx, it's just too tough to really predict. Because Garrett Cole's gonna be on the mound. You have Bronx goes crazy for the Yankees, and because they're so hot right now, I'll stick with the Yankees winning. But I'm gonna go Yankees, Blue Jays. Mason, next question: who's gonna be the NL wildcard winner between the Giants, Dodgers, or Cardinals?
This is where I think the Cardinals' luck runs out. I think the firepower and just the pure strength of an LA Dodgers team that's going to be hungry to show that last year was not just a fluke because of a shortened season, and as well is going to be pretty honked off that they're even having to play in the wild card after winning 100-plus games already. I'm going to take the Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Yeah, I have the Dodgers playing the Cardinals as well, and I'm going to roll with the Dodgers. They're just way too overmatched by the Cardinals. Even if they win out, let's say that would be a 21 or 22 game winning streak. I think we'll see what happened in 2019 to the Indians, where their luck just runs out. Like I mentioned with the Yankees, the Dodgers will be playing at home. Having a home field advantage is just so crucial in the playoffs. So I'll roll with the Dodgers.
Amanda?
I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I think
Yes.
they can pull through one more time, and as we have all seen in the past years, postseason baseball can be absolutely insane. It already is insane right now, and so what better storyline would there be than the Cardinals even getting one more game? They can lose after that, but I think they can beat the Dodgers because I think no one's going to be expecting it.
I couldn't agree more. You're going to have Jack Flaherty on the mound. And yes, the Dodgers, you're going to have Clayton Kershaw, or probably Walker Buehler starting the game. You're definitely going to see Clayton Kershaw, Kenley Jansen. Even I wouldn't be surprised if Max Scherzer closes the entire game. But I think that the Cardinals' luck is still going to keep them going. They've been the hottest team leading up to this, and it's always fitting that they're hot. I'm feeling like a 2011 kind of Cardinals vibe right now. I know that you Dodgers guys and you're a Giants guy, so
yeah.
I mean you're gonna have to face the Cardinals anyway. But I like the Cardinals, and I hate to say it as a Cubs fan because it's really disappointing. Yeah. So, all right, we'll continue. NLCS predictions, Amanda. What 2 teams make it to the NLCS?
I'm going to go with the Giants. I have faith in the Giants. I think they're going to pull through. I don't know how. They've been on a lot of people's radars, but they've also not been as big as, say, the Yankees or even the Dodgers, and yet they still have this fantastic record. I'm also going to go with the Braves. there's something about the Braves that I really like, and I think they have the chance to get to the championship.
Yeah, I can't not pick against my Giants. So I'll just say that. I'm going to go Giants-Brewers. I know there was a series about a month back in early August where the Giants played the Brewers, and it was a duel. And I think we're going to see the same again in the NLCS. I think that, other than the Dodgers, who probably have the most firepower as far as pitching goes, I think the Brewers have, I think the Brewers are hand in hand with the Dodgers. So I would go with the Brewers and Giants, and hopefully my Giants will pull it off. But I could see the series going 6 or 7 games.
I'm going to go with the Giants over the Dodgers in a 5-game set, and I'm going to roll with Milwaukee over Atlanta. For the same reasons I mentioned about Atlanta earlier, I think more of their focus should be on next season. The fact that they're even in the postseason, they've kind of stumbled their way in. And Milwaukee has been a really team effort this year, especially with Christian Yelich, a former MVP, having one of his worst years of his career so far. So I'm going to roll with Milwaukee. Generally in October, you talked about it as well. Anything can happen, but I'm going to rely on team chemistry, and so I'm going to roll with Milwaukee and San Francisco.
Yeah, I really like the Milwaukee-San Francisco. I agree that Milwaukee will come out and beat, the Braves. I think that the Braves, the only reason the Braves are still they're really still in it and having issues is because of Bryce Harper. He's having arguably an MVP season, so he'd be literally the only reason why Philadelphia ends up winning the East, even though I don't think they will. So give me Milwaukee over them. I think their pitching's just too much, quite frankly, for really most teams in the league. And then on the other side, I'm gonna go with the Dodgers. I'll mix it up a little bit. I think either of those teams is a wash. But if you have a 4-game series and you're going Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, and Julio Urias, that's tough to beat for really anybody. So I'll take the Dodgers and the Brewers in my NLCS. So talk about NLCS. Let's talk about ALCS. Mason, I'll start with you. Who are your 2 ALCS teams?
I know you mentioned you can't pick against your Giants, but I'm going to pick against my Yankees here. Tampa Bay has really, really owned us since about the midpoint of 2019. And with the wild card being with that series being just after the wild card, Garrett Cole's not going to be able to go until Game 3, Game 4. I mentioned the starting issues in the Yankees lineup. They do struggle in the postseason when it's always the best pitchers all the time. So I'm going to go Tampa, and then I'm going to take Chicago over Houston. Houston's kind of just been not under the radar after the cheating scandal. They're on everybody's radar. But I'm going to take Chicago over that. I think their offense, top to bottom, and they've got some really good power pitching at the top of their rotation. I think that's going to propel them over. So I'm going to take Chicago and Tampa.
Zach?
For me, I have the Rays and the Astros. So when I look at the playoffs, a lot of what I look at is experience. And when I look at the Rays, they were there last year. They took the Dodgers, was it 6 or 7 games? And I think that they're just going to, they have the experience this year, and they know what it takes to get it done. And when I look at the Astros-White Sox series, I think the White Sox are a really good team. They got Luis Robert. They got all those young guys, but they don't have the experience. And it's a totally different ball game when you're playing in the playoffs. So I'm going to have to side with the Astros. And then Astros, White Sox,
Can someone bang on a trash can for me quickly?
Astros, Rays, I'm going with the Rays. Just because I'm going to go with my Giants to go in the World Series too, which will be the next question.
We'll get there. You're jumping the gun. But you're taking Rays, Astros in the ALCS.
Yes.
Amanda, what's your ALCS?
I'm going to take the Rays and the Astros as well. Like Mason, I'm picking against my own team. I think mostly because the Giants are good and the Yankees and the Red Sox have not been good this season, and that's why you can pick for your team. I'm going to be honest. And I think the thing with the Rays is that, like Mason said, they've kind of been under the radar, but they have the ability to get there. They've been in this position before, and they know what to do.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rays. Like you said, experience is the most important thing. But I'm going to go with the White Sox. I think that they're a young, up-and-coming team. Tony La Russa, you talk about not having a lot of experience. Tony La Russa has a lot of experience, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
The White Sox were also in the postseason last year. Now, was it the same postseason we're acquainted to seeing? No. But you have to remember they'll get more home games in Chicago. It's going to be a completely different series. So it's going to be White Sox, Rays in the ALCS. Now let's get World Series and your MVP. Mason, we'll start with you.
Oh, man. I still am going back and forth on the AL. I know I put in my notes for the show, I know I put Chicago over Tampa, but I think I'm going to switch to Tampa over Chicago, purely for the fact that, like you mentioned, the experience. Tampa Bay's been there last year. Kevin Cash is a great manager, aside from the one blunder in the World Series last year. He's a great manager. He gets those guys doing it all the time. And then I'm going to take San Francisco out of the National League as well.
San Francisco, and you have Tampa.
Yes.
Zach, what about you?
I got the Giants winning in 7 games. I mean, the Rays and Giants go hand in hand. You know, the Rays started it first, and then the Giants are the Rays of the NL. And I think where I tend to side over the Giants over the Rays is, well, I'm a Giants fan, so I'm biased. But we got Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, and unfortunately Brandon Belt just got hurt, so he won't be playing. But Brandon Crawford and Buster Posey are having career years, and experience. They have more experience. Both Brandon Crawford and Buster Posey have won 3 World Series rings. So, and I believe they'll have home field advantage. So, Game 7 in San Francisco, I'm taking my Giants.
So you got the Giants winning it all against the Rays.
Yes.
Amanda, what's your pick?
I've got Rays and Giants as well. I have 7 games. I think the Rays are going to make it. I think they're going to win. I think, especially after last year with the Dodgers, they have something to prove. A lot of that team is still returning. It's the same team. And like I said earlier, they know kind of what to do. And I feel like the Giants are not going to be as much of a challenge as the Dodgers were for the Rays last year. And Kevin Cash is great. They have a good team. They have a lot of chemistry. And they've been able to pull off some stuff that people didn't think they were going to be able to pull off this year.
Awesome. Well, my picks is going to be, I've got to go with the Chicago White Sox. I think as a Chicago kind of fan, I like seeing the city do well, so I'm going to take the White Sox getting out of the AL and out of the NL. It's really a toss-up. I mean, the Brewers can win, or the Giants can win, or the Dodgers can really win it. So I'll take the Dodgers. I think that the pitching staff, like I said, that 4-man rotation is a lot. They also won it last year, even though it was in that bubble type thing. So give me Giants or Dodgers, White Sox, and I'll take the White Sox to win it all this year. I don't know why. I'm feeling with the White Sox, and my MVP will be I don't even know. Give me Luis Robert.
Jose Abreu?
Okay.
Jose Abreu could be one too.
Yeah.
Mason, what about you? Your World Series winner and MVP. We'll go really quickly before we wrap up.
I've got Giants over the Giants over the Rays in 6, and I'm going to go with trade deadline acquisition Chris Bryant being the MVP.
Yeah.
Zach.
So I know I mentioned it
Giants
earlier.
in 7.
I got Giants in 7 at Oracle Park, and I got Brandon Crawford. I feel like no one's talking about him. He's hitting almost 300.
Yeah.
He has a chance to get almost to 100 RBIs. I think he's going to win the MVP.
And Amanda, your pick before we wrap up.
So I've got the Rays beating the Giants, like I just said, and I really want to say Brett Phillips, because everybody remembers the airplane from last year, and that man has so much energy and so much potential to pull through in the clutch moments that obviously you need in the World Series. So I would love for that to happen.
Well, it's going to be such a fun postseason, and there's going to be so many predictions. I love your Chris Bryant MVP as he's one of my guys.
Yeah.
Mason, Zach, Amanda, thank you so much for joining the show today, and that's going to do it for the show this week. Be sure to continue the discussion and follow us on Instagram at IUSCV Sports and on Twitter at IUSCV Sports for live tweets, updates, and IUSCV Sports' brand new multimedia show, The B-Town Breakdown. We're always looking for ways to improve the show, so feel free to give any suggestions and ask any questions you might have via social media. With that, there's one thing left to do, so toss it up, find out if we'll catch it, and we'll see you next week.